Hello, and welcome back to AGXM. In today's interview, I have a chat with none other than the founder of the Morgan Report, the silver guru himself, David Morgan, to catch up after his most recent endorsement of LODE and to check in on what's happening in the silver market. But as always, if this is your first time joining us, please go ahead and subscribe to our channels, as well as check out agxpay.com to learn how the power of honest money can help you claim financial freedom. And now to our interview. David, welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining us.
It's good to be with you, especially with what's happened on the LODE project.
Recently, you came out with a really big endorsement of the project, and it went exceedingly well. And first and foremost, the entire project wants to thank you. Now, many people don't realize this, but you've actually been involved as an ambassador in the project for a very long time now, almost since its inception. So let me ask you, what is it about the project that inspires you so much?
Well, Nick, that's going to give you, one of my long answers. I have to build you a watch. I'm trying to throw my sick sense of humor. But, when I first introduced to LODE after a mining conference in Vancouver, I guess 3 years ago or so, myself and David Smith sat down and listened to the proposal. And I was somewhat skeptical, as I always am, but I happen to know one of the main principles at the time fairly well. So there's a already built-in trust factor. And then after listening to the software engineer, I was pretty convinced that you guys were legitimate. And so my attitude was I didn't want to miss it. No fear of missing out, you might say that, but I wanted to follow the progress of it. So as the system developed, we had the opportunity to load the project with physical silver. And I said, well, I'm going to put in this much, which was fairly significant even for me. And I said, you know what, if I lost that much silver, I would be pretty upset with myself. So I cut that down to half that amount and contributed to the system. And away we went. And so it's been gradual with my normal attitude of show me, don't tell me. There's so many mining stocks out there that have the greatest stories you've never heard that never go anywhere. And, there's a lot of stuff in the crypto space that's no more than a pump and dump, to be honest, or a scam, to be honest. I didn't have any feeling like that. I wouldn't have gotten involved from the beginning, but 99 or 98% of all startups fail. So really there's a high risk. What appealed to me is putting silver where I always wanted it. I think myself, and I hate to speak for other people, but if I'll take that liberty, Hugo Sinus Price, who from Mexico, where I'm now sitting, was the advocate, not me. I mean, he was the true leader as far as putting silver back in the people's hands. And from my perspective, putting power back into the people's hands, because money is power. And there's nothing more powerful than something real. And silver is real money. So I saw the opportunity. I saw the long-term vision. And it's step by step, week by week, month by month, as things progressed. And like anything in business, went up and down and up and down and up and down. But the path was, due to diligence, perseverance, and a great team, progressed to the level where we are now. So why did I get so enthusiastic on the last few emailings that I did to our email list? And the reason is you'd shown me. You come so far. And it was an opportunity that even there I asked the lawyers to write me a disclaimer, because even with a week to go, I had to have an out. But if this bank didn't come through and fund the project with 10 million euros, I didn't want someone running after me to say, well, David, you said, I said it's going to happen, I think, but I don't know until it really happens. Excuse my sense of humor again, folks, but when you get the check, until it clears the bank, you can't count the currency. So back to you, Nick, that's why. It was not, I was conservative, as I am. People think I'm very, what would you say, highly speculative, but you're not a speculative individual if you trust the money that's lasted 5,000 years. You can't be more conservative than that. But if I give that message, it goes over the head of most people. But back to you.
That's a fantastic response, David. And once again, it's a huge privilege to be acknowledged by one such as yourself. And I'm happy to say that through your efforts, we've gained almost 1,000 new community members as a result. So clearly the love was there, the interest was there, and now it's time to live up to that faith that your community has put in us. Transitioning over to silver now, it's been going through quite a bit of a rally as of late, sitting in that $19 range. I'm curious, what do you think the cause of this movement is for silver after being down as low as $14 for so long?
Yeah, well, it's a rebirth of the metals. I mean, all this going on and really hasn't ceased from, more from the inception of the Federal Reserve, really. There's been a nonstop up and down ebb and flow of the amount of currency added to the money supply, and that debases whatever units are already in existence. So on the long-term trend, we've gone from a 100-cent Federal Reserve note in 1913 to a little more than 100 years later, where even the Federal Reserve says it's worth about 3 pennies relative to what it was at the founding of the Federal Reserve. And of course, their mandate is for monetary stability. And I want to announce publicly, far and wide, and make it viral, you failed miserably. But it's gone so slowly that most people don't pay attention. They think a little inflation is good. And all these metrics that are out in the mainstream meme about inflation and money supply and modern money theory and all this hogwash that people buy into, which will have a bad ending, is coming to the fore, which means that gold has caught a bid and starting to move up to the 1350 level, which I said was critical. 1550 was the next level for gold. And I know you asked about silver. I'll get there. And then we've gone from there all the way up to 1750 now in 1800. So gold broke through about three technical levels that were critical, sitting at a 6 or 7 year high. And it's basically dragging silver along. And usually silver can lead, but sometimes it lags. It's certainly lagging now with the gold silver ratio going from roughly 125, biggest gold silver ratio in all of recorded history, down to less than 100, but barely 93, 94, 95 in that range. But I think silver will outperform gold. Where are we now? I think, Nick, we're stalled out. If you go back to the best trade I ever made in the futures market, it was during the rally from the bottom of the financial crisis in 2008. Silver had maintained a $19 price level in what's called a channel formation. For those that don't know what that means, it's basically a straight flat line where it stays at 19, 19, 19. And I'm exaggerating this, like 1890, 1910, 1922, 1873. But basically, if you take a broad brush, it's a flat line. It's called a channel formation. They are the easiest to trade, but you have to be patient because you can't tell the market when to break the channel. You have to watch the market, let the market tell you it's broken the channel. When it broke that $19 level, Nick, I got on board the futures market in a rather, let's say, most significant way, but a fairly aggressive manner. And of course, all my paid subscribers were able to follow that trade along. We went all the way up to $26, so $7 on a leveraged platform is quite a take. And I exited because I saw it stalling out. The market was telling me now's the time to exit. However, the fundamentals changed. And after QE2 was announced, myself being somewhat skeptical, but everyone else that was probably my age or near my age or had studied the past knew that this was a huge inflow of inflation. By the Austrian definition, an increase in the money supply is inflation. So nothing protects you more in an inflationary environment than silver. It's far superior to gold. So it took off from 19 all the way to 48. I called that top. I called it for my subscribers and my members first. Then I went out in the general public and I called the top as well. And I got a ton of hate mail. Not a ton, I'm exaggerating. I got some hate mail. It's going to 100. You're the foolish guy. You'll never be the silver guru again. You're going to hide your head in shame. You're going to be forever ostracized and on and on and on. But you know what? I'm my own man. I called the top, and guess what? I was right. Hope I'm right the next time. I'm not guaranteeing folks that I am, but I called it right. So if you go from 19 to 48, that was quite a move, especially if you're leveraged. So I had people retiring left and right from the Morgan report. I had letters like you wouldn't believe, like, I'm done, man. I've made so much fiat. I'm turning it into some silver gold, and I'm buying a home I never dreamed I could own. And so that subscriber base was up over 3,000 at the time. And I've been as low as 900 recently, and I'm back over 1,000 now. But the point is that there were a lot of things showing me that was the top. And I'm not afraid to call a sell. And I won't be afraid to call it again. But the point I'm making, and I know I haven't lost it, is, well, where are we? That 19 level is basically resistance from a long time ago. But it was a long, long period of time. And even though I'm going back years, most people really don't know, how do I say this? I read futures charts a little differently than others. Why? Because I've learned the hard way. So we are basically stalling out here, Nick, I think, or how long, I don't know. It won't be too long because the strength in the gold market is superior to something I've seen since the 70s. When we got smashed down in gold in March, when the whole market collapsed, that was a V bottom. Look at it, folks. It's history. You can go verify it for yourself. Gold and gold stocks especially got creamed. And my members, I told them, if you didn't have your protective stop on, don't sell, hold. And honestly, I knew it would come back, but it even surprised me with how quickly it came back, which shows you the strength of the precious metals, especially gold right now. And so many of those stocks not only returned to where they were when the crash happened, but they're making new highs as we speak. And many of the juniors that we featured in the Morgan Report are doing quite well, not all of them, but we've had one that we put in recently that's up 500%. And there's more than that. There's actually about 3 or 4 that are doing that well. So we're back in a bull market. It does probably need a breather here. So I'm looking for the level of gold and silver at right now, Nick, to probably pause for a while, maybe do some type of correction, especially if there's a stock market sell-off. That could be, I'm not saying would be, they're two different words, folks. It could be your last chance to get in at, let's say, what I consider to be bargain prices, which, for the record, in U.S. terms, anything under $1,800 gold and anything under $20 silver, 3 or 4 years out from now, it's going to look like a bargain basement price.
Well, David, once again, thank you so much for joining us. As always, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much for joining us for our interview of David Morgan. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And as always, if you like the content you saw today, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and register an account on agxpay.com to join the Honest Money movement. Take care.